You might ask yourself, how on earth do we translate this into an edit? This must be an incredibly time-consuming process. Well, not so much. So going back to my Nyembezi transcript, what we can do is actually import this transcript into Avid. The way we do that is we have to create a regular.txt file. Let me just pop that on the desktop there. Plain text. I'll make this a little bit simpler because I believe it has some character restrictions. And quite important, you want to insert line breaks so you don't have long lines of text. Now if I go to Avid Media Composer, File, New Script, and I can choose my text document there. Note that it only works with a basic text document. It won't work with your Word documents. So let me open that. So now we have everything that is said in this interview represented in the script. I want to go through a very cool feature you may have heard of called Avid Script Sync. What we're going to do is we're going to just select all of only the spoken dialogue. Don't worry too much about including lines like question and answer. It's not the end of the world if a few lines that aren't actual spoken dialogue are there, but mostly that the majority of it is more or less accurate is what you want to worry about. So hold down Shift to select all of it. Now what you do, once you've selected all the text you want to use, you drag over the multi-group clip, and we see it kind of works like a mocked up script. Okay, you select this little square, go to Script at the top, Script Sync, and you choose the English that most approximates what you're going to use. South African English most closely resembles United Kingdom English out of this list here. Just as a note, I did have some interviews in Afrikaans, which is a language quite similar to Dutch, and I had some success using Dutch. Let's just go OK and see how it works. Okay, so once we're done with the script sync process, we can see that we have these little markers down the side of the text, and what these markers represent is when it's been able to match the audio to the video. Now in the case of Nyembezi, he doesn't speak Queen's English, he's got a bit of an accent, so it isn't entirely perfect, but you can see it has managed to pick up almost every single line. And we can test this pretty easily to see if it works. Here what's he saying, particularly when you look into the bread price fixing case since 2007. Let's double click that and play.
Particularly when we look into this bread price fixing case, because since 2007.
Perfect. You can test a few down here. And setting of policies.
And setting up of policies.
Perfect. So now you simply repeat this process through every single interview. So what you see over here are all my scripts in the end, each of them with their own code. Now we begin working with the paper edit. What's the first thing we look at? Okay, IMR2A, and I'll just copy the first few words of this. Initially I was something about 200. I'll just copy that. And I find the script for Imram 2A. Then what you can do is go do a search on your script. I want to search the current script, and I paste in my text. Bam, found it there. Double click that and it automatically makes a little endpoint. It says
initially I was selling about 200 loaves of bread from my shop, and I had a lot of
So the best way to do this is actually to start with the last few words. We'll go with started out as a bread distributor. then go back and find that bit there. It's made a in point there.
Breed distributor.
Then make that my out point. The reason for that is every time you click here, Avid automatically makes an in point where it is. So it actually works out better to start at the end and then go to the beginning later. So now I'll go back to the beginning, which was, initially I was selling about 200 loaves.
Initially I was asked...
There we go, that's pretty much it. Then press B, and there it is. That's the first bit of our paper edit. Then you simply repeat the process for every single one. This will take a while, but it's a hell of a lot easier than constructing it based on nothing. It gives you a skeleton to work with. So once we've gone through the entire paper edit Excel spreadsheet, we should end up with a sequence that looks a lot like this. And you'll notice that it is approximately 5 hours long, which is very long indeed, but what we have here is the paper edit transferred to its video form. I've added titles to help separate the different conceptual segments. So for example, here we have 1.1, the ordinary world, moving on to 1.2, the inciting incident, etc. And what this does is it helps us watch the entire structure unfold. One of the reasons why it is so long is that we have to keep in mind that when we're working with transcripts, we're working with pure text. So what the writers, directors, and myself see written down here might seem like a really poignant, intelligent thing in text, but if you're actually to hear, there might be something wrong with the cinematography, there might be a boom and shot, it might be shaky, or it might not be very well said by the interviewee.